regarding analyzing your games, we often analyze carefully the games we lose, to higher rates, games that are serious against good players and stuff like that. And we show our coaches and we annotate it and we take such games seriously. But unfortunately, sometimes we leave out and forget to analyze games that we play that we might have won rather easily against much weaker players. But in my opinion, it's worth analyzing every game you play, because you never know, you might run into some gold. Even in blitz games, you can sometimes learn some ideas in the opening. So today I was going to show you a lesson showing how much I've actually learned from playing games with much lower rateds, even games that I won, which looks like fairly easily. There were a lot of very good learning moments along the way. So this game I played against an IM in a rapid game. And this is by far the strongest opponent I'm going to show you a game against today. So I was black. I was black in most of the games, actually, out of the games that I'll show you. And I played the Slav defense. I had this against the Wander Liang. A Wander Liang played a4. How did I record all the moves? It was game 25, game 30, most of the games. Yeah, notated. E3, knight d7, queen e2, rook c8. This is still some theory. The idea was after this, I wanted to play another waiting move, bishop g6. He played knight c3. And here I played knight e4, which is interesting, but maybe there are alternatives here. Knight d2. Knight takes c3. Knight takes d2 was also interesting. I later checked. I stopped after d5. I didn't think it's good for me, but it turns out that knight f6 is decent for me, because after e4 I go there and then I go bishop d7 or queen e3 b6. I'm comfortable. So I played this instead with the idea of queen a5. Here I give him kind of a strong grip in the center. e4, knight b3, and now I played queen a4, which is queen takes c3. It turns out was the principal safer option, but I played queen a4, wanted to be a bit safer. But it's always a bit risky having the queen away from action when opponent has potential attack. I thought it's not a big deal, but at some point I missed something very big. So f4, f6, bishop e3, e5. All right, what to do for white here? By the way, make sure you don't type to everyone, but type to me directly. That's very important, because you don't want to give away the answer to other people if you solve it quicker, let's say. Yeah, so everybody got the idea except for my opponent, thankfully for me. Even though he is an IM, he missed it. Yeah, this one is not such a big deal, because here I just go bishop f7, bishop c4, and black is completely fine. The idea is queen g4. In fact, I think the engine was giving f takes e5 first, and then queen g4. Maybe because if you go queen g4 immediately, there's a defense, bishop e8, queen e6, rook f7. I'm not sure if there's a huge difference. I can check the engine very quickly. Yeah, no, actually queen g4 is a mistake because of f5. So queen g4 right away does not work as well, nearly as well, because of f5. So you actually need to, you guys have the right idea, but you wanna, the move order is important. You want to take first. And now, okay, I should not take, of course, but then I'm just losing a pawn for nothing. What if I take? Then I lose a piece, because now there's this fork. So make sure you always pay attention to opponents' ideas. Even if you have the right idea, take your time, make sure you see your opponent's resources. But yeah, luckily for me, my opponent missed it. And he played rook a d1, and then I played this, and then later on I was able to win the game. So it was an example of, even though I won kind of easily after that, you should still check with the engine, because maybe you missed some tactic along the way, right? And you want to make sure that if you did miss something, that you learn from it. Okay, next game I played, because sometimes two strong opponents can just have blind spots, right? That just goes to show why we should never trust anyone. This game I was black, against player around 1900. Also rapid game. It was from the state tournament. He played 95, and quite frankly, I didn't remember the line very well. So that was, even though I won the game easily, that gave me a reason to check the line again, so that if somebody actually dangerous who will beat me will play this, well, then I will be better prepared, because this is like a refresher of my memory. So even if you don't learn anything more than that, it's like a sign that, okay, this line you didn't remember, so check that line. Use the first opportunity you have to check that line, review your file. And here I realized that instead of knight f6, I should have played e6, with the idea of bishop b5, bishop d7, or c3, bishop d6, knight e7. But during the game, I was imprecise. I played this, and then I played e6, which is not quite as good. And now if he goes knight d2, he's fine. Is it a big deal if white takes your light square bishop? Not so much, because it's not the best piece, and black can go bishop d6, castle, and it's a theoretical position. Black's supposed to be fine there. At some point, he might try to play e5, and there's been games there. How should black play this line? Well, I came to the conclusion that e6, bishop d6 is a good setup, but there could be probably other ways to play this as well. There could be like knight f6 first. There are many ways you can play this. I don't really want to do an opening clinic here, so it's more about some other stuff. So okay, so c3, bishop d6. If you want to opening clinic is like Jan Gustafsson does those on Chess 24. There you would want to, if you're a premium member, you can ask like more specific opening questions more regularly. It's actually, these opening clinics are very good in my opinion. I've learned some things here and there from those, because they're on YouTube and on Chess 24. All right, so anyway, so going back here. So e6, this class is more about actually learning from the games. And okay, so bishop g5 was not the best move. After knight d2, he had some advantage. Bishop g5, bishop e7, d6, f4, and now I get an advantage after queen b6, queen b3, knight e4, takes, bishop h4. And here I thought I played well, but the engine told me that I could have played f6. And I thought f6, knight d3 is not so clear, but it turns out I had this idea, knight a5, with the idea of knight b3. And somehow I just missed it. So that was bad on my part. So there you go. Now I learned a new tactical pattern, or at least it's reinforcing learning that idea, reinforcing my knowledge. Instead of that, I played g5. And now he played this one, but if he would have played fg, knight e5, takes, knight d2, and bishop d7, I'm slightly better, but it's not like huge advantage. He's in the game here. So he played bishop takes, I played f6, takes, bishop here. I played king f7. He must play f5, otherwise the bishop's trapped. Takes, bishop e2, king g6, bishop c1. Yeah, he didn't want to allow tempos like bishop e3, f4, so he played bishop c1, rook e8, knight d2. And I played, yeah, what would you do as black here? Make sure you give the whole line. Knight c3 followed by bishop a6 does not work because of c4. I mean, that's the first thing I considered, but yeah, it doesn't work. Bishop a6, what to do after bishop takes a6? Don't just give one move, give further. Bishop h2, 94. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like some of you saw the answer. Yeah, bishop g3 is the way. And it's winning. What to do after king f1? Of course, if king d1, then here, if this, you have this. King f1, knight f2. And here the bishop hangs the net, and black is winning. So I played this, however. This is not nearly as good. Takes knight g3, and here he played a very strange. I didn't get it at all. Why he played king f2 and just lost. And then you just resigned. I think he mentally gave up after bishop a6. But in fact, if he plays, I missed bishop g3. Yeah, I missed it. I just missed it. Yeah, it was bad because it was a case where I probably spent too much time calculating bishop a6 and forgot to look at all my candidate moves. Got too stuck on one line, and then I couldn't resist playing it, but should have looked at all my candidate moves early. Didn't look at all my checks, captures, threats. So yeah, that was very bad on my part not to see it. Even though I won the game, I kind of got away with it because if he got to this position, this is actually not so easy. I'm losing all my pawns, or I have to give back the exchange. Position is actually not so clear here. It's round equal. So that's where I got lucky. Poor tactics on my part. A little bit somehow didn't look at all my options. All right, let's look at the next game. This is a game I played with black, same tournament. Here my opponent should have played this. My opponent confused the line, probably. All right, so this is it, yeah? What plan would you choose for black here? So we have several different options. We have g5, g4, bishop b8, queen c7, e5, knight d5, knight f4, king h8 first, e5 gaining space, and then knight d5, slowly building pressure in the center. Yeah, we have like a lot of ideas here. Knight d5, knight f4. Yeah, lots of ideas. Well, I played knight d5, knight f4. I thought this makes the most sense, but in fact, Austin is right. We should play e5, trying to get the control over the center. e5, e4. As you could see, black is just better after that. e5, rook e8, and because the center is the most important. And the other plans I think are just not. Knight d5 is what I played, but this kind of lessens my advantage after knight f3. And same thing with bishop b8. It doesn't really do much after knight f3. And king h8, g5 stuff, that's also after simply knight f3. That's just going to be way too weakening. So white didn't do anything too bad, except for, playing a bit passively and decentralizing the knight. So now I can take advantage of that and, challenge in the center, e5, e4, and black is better. So knight d5 was played in the game, g3. G3 is bad. Knight f3 should have just been played. Queen f6, bishop takes. And here, surprisingly, I made a very big mistake. I thought it's not a big deal either way, but e takes d5 is somehow a very big mistake. I should have played cd to open up the c file, which was very interesting to me. I thought it doesn't really matter. I thought opening the e file is also good, but it's better to try to target opponent's weakness. And now bishop c3, d4, bishop d2 is just fine for white. Whereas after this, there is a problem with c2 pawn, which is a long-term weakness. Yeah, e5, e4 potentially is also, yes, very good. So ed. Well, I thought I have enough chances to win anyway, because I have a bishop pair. But yeah, I wasn't thinking so much about that. I thought I'll win anyway with the bishop pair and her weaknesses and stuff. Okay, so queen g4, queen takes b2, bishop h6, f5, and now white collapsed. White should have played this. Rook f7, it looks losing, but I thought it's losing, but there's a defense, queen c1 here, which holds the position. I mean, white is still a bit worse, but it's manageable. Instead, white played queen h5 and just resigned. Again, looks like an easy win, but nonetheless, there were some inaccuracies along the way and stuff you can learn from, especially reinforcing the idea of fighting for the center, which somehow I got carried away by some other things and forgot about the center, which is the most important part of the game, the center. That was for my recent Marshall tournament. The next game I want to show you is actually from a tournament I played in Indiana, where I won with black in a small quad. Again, it seems like not a big deal. I played a floored master in this game, but still, this game was quite interesting. So it started off uneventful with the London, but now he played a very interesting line here. He played c4, which I've never seen before. So now I was on my own, and probably many of you are also. All right, what to do with black here? What do you think? Try to think about your candidate move and then see. That's, yeah. So Austin, you've studied my games at some point. Well, I think it's not just me. I think that's like most GMs, especially GMs who, at some point were over 2,600. Like, I mean, if you want to get to that level, you have to be mentally very tough, right? You have to, fight for every point, every game, and not mentally give up. All right, so far one person has given me the right answer, but let's see if, but that's just the one move solution. So I would rather somebody give an actual deeper solution. So, let's see. Okay, a couple of people gave me the right answer. That's good. 3. Okay, looks like people are kind of getting it. Austin, do you want to explain your idea?
And so I thought we should play bishop g4 to move the bishop out of the pawn chain, but also more importantly, we're threatening to take the pawn on d4 and he can't take with the knight. So he'll have to take with the pawn and he might end up with an isolated pawn.
What are you thinking about d6, c5, e5, and bishop g5? What would you do there?
Honestly, I didn't really see that, but I think like we have a lot of options. Like we could play d4 or maybe queen a5 check first. But
d4 is good, yes. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, bishop g4. A lot of you saw it too, so I'm very happy. So I could have picked on many of you. The point is that yeah, you want to target this pawn, create that pin, and releasing the tension. It'll be in our favor. CD knight d5 or dc5, right? It's all pretty good for us. And yeah, so it definitely should have been a move I considered. Bishop f5 is less effective, right? Because it just doesn't do as much. And knight b4 just doesn't help because he just chases with a3. And let's see what else we have. Knight h5. Problem is I just take a knight c3. And after cd, I thought knight takes d4, knight g4, queen d4. Or e5, knight c6. And by the way, another move to consider was queen b6, but queen b6 is not very good because of knight c3. So I ended up playing d takes c4, which on one hand, I'm giving him an isolated pawn, but the drawback, of course, is that I let him capture back in one go. Since I did not see bishop g4, I ended up going for this. I should have considered that move, of course. But here, even though he gets an IQP, he has a pretty active position after knight e5, challenging my knight on c6. Castles, knight c3, bishop b8, takes, b3. Yeah, now here black has several good options. Queen a5 followed by bishop a6, and or rook d8, c5, e5 would have been very logical. Another move that makes a lot of sense is rook b7, rook d7, piling up pressure on the pawn. But here I just played too fast and I didn't look at all my options. I kind of played the first move I thought about it, but it's just not a good move. It's always important in chess to make a list of candidate moves. But I played queen d6, and now white should be a bit better. What would you play for white here? Okay, let's see. Andrew Jink. Andrew Jink, go ahead, explain your idea. Yeah, I can't hear you, Andrew. Okay, it looks like I can't hear Andrew. So, okay, several of you suggest queen d3, which is also a decent move. That's what my opponent played. So Andrew Jing, yeah, too bad we can't hear from him, but yeah, his suggestion was knight a4, trying to go knight c5, getting that square. And Austin also mentioned that after rook d8, we go queen e2, and after this, rook d1. Yes, exactly that line. And e5, it does not help so much because takes here, queen d6, queen g3. So white is better in every position. Yeah, so knight a4 would have been very good. He played queen c3, rook d8, rook d1, rook b7. Knight a4 was still better. He decided to play this. And now we had an interesting moment. Now, pay close attention to my last moves. My last two moves are rook d7, then h6, and queen c7. All right. So we have this position white to play. What would you do here? All right, so far all of you suggested the move that my opponent played. Everybody wants to play that move. It's a very tempting move, but as I'll explain to you why it's not the best in once I go over the game. Yeah, nobody found the right move yet. It's kind of a difficult move. Give you all like maybe a minute or two. Want to see if somebody could find the right move. Huh. Alan found the right move. Okay, let's go ahead. Alan, unmute.
King of 2.
Why? Why king f2?
Because I wanted to go because queen, if you go queen b6, I can go king e3 and defend my d4 pawn, and like my main plan is to go king e3.
Yeah, just slowly but surely improve the position. The point is that in this position, the big point of this, the reason I emphasize the last few moves, h6, queen c7, is that what these moves indicate is that black has no plan, right? Black has no plan. Black has no plan, and there's when opponent has no plan and is scuffling, does not have an active idea, there is no reason to force things, right, and make committal moves, especially a move like f5, which will then help my bishop get into the game. Instead, you want to build up your position little by little, like king f2, potentially maybe trade queens, king e3, g4, h4, g5, right? And how can white ever lose this, right? I mean, is g3 still good? I mean, g3 is also playable, right? I think, you should play a move along those lines, right? Not very committal. So a king f2 is decent. I think h4, g3 is decent, right? You have to try to play patiently, right? G3 is, well, g3 actually is a bit weaker because then after c5, you're weakening this long diagonal. Queen c5, yeah, and then bishop a6 maybe. Yeah, so this wasn't as good, yeah, because you're weakening a bit. So the best move is king f2, but The point is that you should try to play in such a way where, yeah, if queen e5, you can even take here, right? And only you can be a bit better in this end game. Like, it's just very pleasant. Very hard. I mean, and certainly black cannot win that, right? So also keeping in context, like you're playing a GM, you're playing someone higher rated. They'll want to keep the tension. They don't want to just like trade off into like an endgame that they can't win, right? So a move like king f2 is just very practical. It's just very practical. It's you know, you make slow improvements little by little, and you let black suffocate with, because the point is now, you know why also g3 is bad? Like after this, you can have this idea, right? So you don't want to take away the g3 square from the rook, right? I think that's also why g3 wasn't so good, right? You don't want to prevent yourself from ever going rook g3. But the big point is, when your opponent cannot do anything, don't force action unless you see that it's like amazing for you, right? Unless you see it's winning or some kind of huge gains you get from this. But here you just don't. All you get is like opponent activates the bishop, you weaken your king a little bit, and now black has play. And whereas what have you accomplished? f7 will easily be guarded, and then what? Right? So that's the thing, right? f5 is very tempting to play, but it's a very instructive mistake. And I think that's one of the big differences between a GM and not a GM, right? That's being able to keep the tension and making less committal moves that slightly improve the position. Because if there's nothing immediate, there's no reason to rush. When opponent is scuffling and cannot find a plan, especially. Instead, he helped me out tremendously, and then I was able to just win the game from here in a few moves. All right, let's look at the next game. The next game, I played black. And here also, this game, I didn't really make any big mistakes. But here, we can sort of learn a little bit from my opponent's instructive mistakes. Like, so far, he's playing more or less fine, right? But now, you know, the simplest would have been to play castles, queen e2, and then go for e4, challenge the center, right? That would have just been by far the simplest. Or he can play bishop takes f5, e takes f5, and castle bishop d6 and knight e2, and bishop g3, right? That would have also been okay. Instead of that, he played a3. Which doesn't really make too much sense. Tried to get initiative on this part of the board, but yeah, that just doesn't do anything. I just go back, and now I'm able to control the center. And very often what happens is when you play positionally dubious, you then blunder some tactic, right? That just happens very often in chess. And so he played c4, takes, and yeah, now he blundered, right? Because he's losing either the exchange or the pawn. And after that, he just collapsed. And he was a strong player. He was a master. In fact, he beat a strong young 2300 the round before. But in this game, he just made a lot of unforced errors. Why? Because he didn't want to just play normal. He wanted to create something, right? But sometimes in chess, you have to just play normal chess. When there's nothing in the position, you just play normal and keep the tension and fight for the center, follow general opening principles. But instead, he decided to deviate, and he paid for that. Like here, he was already a bit worse, even without the blunder, because he weakened c4 square. He gave me targets, right? So he's really letting me play. When if you could have, like in this position, if you just tried to play for safely, I would have not gotten winning chances. Why didn't you go g5 at some point and go for knight h5, h5? I don't know. I could never really find a good moment to do that. So, And I thought the way I was playing was fine. And the engine was actually never suggesting it after the fact either. So I don't know. I didn't think it was ever really that good. All right, the next game, I was black. Yeah, this was another one of these Londons, which was a bit messy. I got a good position early on because of the opening. Yeah, this key idea that I'm not committing knight on f6 because I have I can put the pawn on f6. So see here I'm doing this g5 stuff. So yeah, now you should be happy. Yeah, bishop e3. Yeah, and here I thought I played pretty logical, but apparently I didn't. I thought bishop d6, knight e7 or whatever, dc4 makes sense, but a6 would have just been better because after this I go here, then I go there, and I'm sort of brought that bishop back to defense, and now I have a very nice attack. Bishop g3 had its own drawbacks too. Then I can go h5, and then he has to worry about, he has to weaken his king a little bit more like that. Yeah, h4, g4, bishop goes back, and then the knight goes to f5. It has its own drawbacks too. So it's understandable he didn't want to play it. But maybe, yeah, you might be right. It might have been a mistake. I think he's worse anyway, if I remember correctly. But yeah, you're right. This would have been lesser of the evil. Yeah. Okay, so he played this, I played this. And here, surprisingly, I should have just gone here, got for this endgame. Because, yeah, this endgame very good here for me. Two bishops, knight e7, king d7, knight d5. Have the b file. Just very good stuff for me. And I never have to worry about my king here. But I played knight e7. He went queen e2. a6, bishop c4. Knight b4, knight e1. Knight d5. Knight c3, takes. Rook c8. f4. Queen c7. Bishop b3. Takes. Yeah, now I have control over the game, but it's not so simple. It looks like I have control over the game, but I actually don't, because my pawn is very weak, and now I end up going here. And at some point, with my weak king, the game was very messy. Like at some point, he was like a little bit better. Yeah, so surprisingly, I'm in some trouble. Well, anyway, I mean, so I think this idea of just trading queens was very instructive, right? Was a very safe way to play instead of trying to get more. All right, so let's keep going. Yeah, the rest of the game I won, but it was a bit messy, and he was just time pressure, and that's why I won. Okay, now this game I thought was like by far the most interesting of all them. Like this one I played against 1700, and I won fairly easily. Now you think like, well, I mean, against someone that low, how can you learn? Well, as you will see, you can. Because I did not play well in the opening. I thought I played well, but then I realized that I didn't. So f3, this is still the theory. f5, and now he played bishop d3. After this, there's knight h6 and bishop takes queen h4. That idea. And after takes, there's knight here. So bishop d3. And now the best move here was knight c6. I found out after the game. Yeah, I found out after the game. Yeah, that knight c6 was the better option. but I played f takes e4. Yeah, now bishop takes e4 is not very good because takes from queen h4. But yeah, f takes e4 was played in the game. And yeah, and here I played knight f6. All right. Question: what to do with white here? What if bishop c3, bishop e4? Yeah, that's a good question. What happens if that? Why is this not working? Who can tell us? Yeah, and white is winning here. So I played knight f6, and if bishop takes right away, takes, and bishop's king, queen here, king f1, and if bishop takes, king f1 still. So this pawn is not really edible, unfortunately. So I played knight f6, but I thought this was good too. But it turns out white has a very strong idea here. See if anyone can find this. It's not so easy. Let's see if anyone can find it. Do you think it's a good opening for black? Yeah, I think it's very underrated. It's not the best opening out there, but it's very interesting to play for a win, and especially if you're a French player. So d5 is what my opponent played. It's a very solid move, but it was definitely not the best. It's allowed black to get some solid play. Let's see if anyone knows. Queen e2. Just I think bishop c3, knight e4 might work. All right, so I see some interesting lines there, but so far no one gave me the best move. Okay, we see a lot of bishop g5s, but bishop g5, I think it's not such a big deal because I could play h6, bishop h4, g5. Well, black is still, and it's still better for white, even this line, but it's not the best line. It's a little bit less clear, but it's interesting. e5. Let's see, e5. Bishop g2, bishop g5 was a suggestion, but I don't know. This is messy, but I don't think white is not better here. It's just a mess where it looks like black is slightly better. Queen e2. I believe the answer. I believe here you can play. Maybe this is also some. Yeah, queen e2 probably also some advantage, but the best move is even better. Knight e2, you can play knight e4. And with the knight on e2, you're blocking the queen. Same thing with knight f3, go knight e4. Queen c2, maybe knight c6 is the problem. Yeah, knight c6, e5. All right, we have a couple of winners. Where's Pranav? I can't seem to find Pranav. It's so hard to find people on the Zoom here. Oh yeah, found.
So here, you might want to think of knight f3 and knight e2, but that doesn't work because you block the queen. So you have to go knight h3 to keep the queen in the attack, basically.
Right. Yeah, you develop the knight, and the knight's well placed there because you want to castle bishop g5, e5, and the knight is good on h3, right? It controls f4, h5. But more importantly, after it takes, you have now this and queen e5. No, actually, your best idea is just to castle.
I know you can just castle and just get sack a pawn, and you're just gonna attack this king.
Yeah, and this is winning for white. Yes. So yeah, I mean, I probably have to castle or something, but then like e5 is an idea, and white is just much better. So knight h3 would have been very powerful, and it's a very good idea to be aware of in these kind of structures. Like whenever they play b3 and you play e5, it's like a good idea to be aware of. In fact, I knew about this idea because I beat Ru Feng Li in the last round in US Open with the same concept, knight h6, against his b3 system. But for some reason here, I forgot about this idea. G4 is possible. Well, G4, I think it's not very good. Yeah, because knight e4. And queen f3, just castle. So as you could see, knight h3 is the top entrance choice. But the big problem was I thought I'm okay, but I wasn't, right? So clearly I was a bit too relaxed, complacent. Yeah, my opponent played d5, and now I could have played knight takes e4. I was afraid of queen h5, but I have queen f6 and then this. So I didn't calculate it well enough. And if bishop e4, I go bishop c3, and then queen h4. So anyway, bishop c3, pawn takes c3. E5, knight f3, queen e7, and yeah, what to do with the white here. A4 is what my opponent played, but A4 wasn't so challenging. C5 is what I thought he might play, but then I thought queen C5 is not so bad because I have this. Yeah, so C5 I don't think works because of queen C5. So I thought about that idea, but here it doesn't really work. Bishop E3, nothing special, just D6. I have someone who got the right idea. Yeah, Alan got the right idea, but we already called on Alan once, so let's see if anyone else has the right idea. Andrew Jean, but I think Andrew last time, but let's try him again. Yeah, looks like we can't hear Andrew at all. Okay, let's try Sefer. Sefer.
So I did is knight h4.
Yeah. Knight h4, trying to go for knight of castles and knight of 5, right? Yeah, and if this does not work for queen h5 reasons or knight f5, and after this you weaken your dark squares. White is still better. So it was one of these games. It reminds me of like knight coming on the knight h, first knight h3, then knight h4, right? So it's a kind of an interesting game that, yeah, normally in most positions, knights in the rim are dim, but sometimes there could be an exception if you have some concrete idea. So, but in this game, I missed 2 of his knight moves. Luckily for me, he missed those as well, and I was able to win pretty routinely. So, and here, by the way, c5 was interesting. I'm trying to go like bishop queen c2 maybe. Yeah, he played this, and now I was able to win kind of routinely. I found a good plan, knight f8, knight g6. His bishop on a3 is kind of stupid. Yeah, and then I was able to win nicely. So it looked like a good game. At the moment, I was happy with it, but of course, then when I checked the game with the engine, I was like, wow, so much to learn still. So many interesting moments in the chess game that, yeah, you have to, yeah, that's why you have to take every game seriously, right? In any game you play, you can legitimately learn something interesting, something you might have not looked at, or maybe you've seen the idea, but you definitely need to reinforce it. Because even during analysis, I didn't really see it. I guess the last game we can see is a game I played with White in the Grunfeld against an expert. And that was like one of the games I was pretty happy with because I won fairly cleanly. I already showed this game in a few moments. Yeah, here my opponent misplayed the opening a little bit. He should probably play c5 here. He played this and then c5. But now I get, now he doesn't really get to play e6 under good circumstances. Because now e6 met with d6. So now I should be a bit better because I have space advantage. And here I'm better. But now he made a mistake. He should have played knight f8. And this position is not so bad because he can try to then attack this pawn. I'm better here, but it's certainly far from losing because he's defending his king pretty nicely, and it's pretty solid for him still. He played 95. I took, he took. What should White do here? All right, so rook e3. Rook e3, what happens? Rook e3, I could take here. Rook h3, queen c7. So I don't think rook e3 is all that special. H4, queen takes d6, h5, queen f8, I think is sort of okay. Queen d2. It's possible that I think that was my original intention until I found out I have a better move. Here, I think bishop c6 still keeps black in the game. So Eric Liu, what do you think? What should white play?
F4,
Yeah, very good. And after queen d6,
F5,
excellent. Yeah, and this is just the pillar idea. You just crash through. Once I saw I can play that, I was like, all right, I have to play this. This is definitely better than anything else. He played this, and now I just took back, and now my queen is in a very nice attacking position. I'm preparing rook f1, queen e5, and all that good stuff. King g7, rook f1, bishop c8, queen e5, king g8, rook f6, here, rook f1, here. And now it's kind of interesting. I saw I can win with this one. But, you know, I thought, okay, he can try to hold on this position for some time. I knew it's completely winning, but I was like, okay, I mean, maybe I have something better because of how dominant my position is. And so I decided to play queen f4, threatening rook f8, rook f7, all that good stuff. And queen g7, and I played d7. And that's a nice interference tactic, which nice that disturbs his harmony. Regardless of how he takes, I'm winning. If queen d7, rook f8, and then is winning, mating. If bishop takes, then rook f7, and if rook takes, then bishop takes e6. So white is completely winning in all the lines, and he resigned, and so I won a nice game here. So this was a bit rare for me, right? Most of the games weren't so clean, but sometimes they are. But the big thing is there's always, you know, most of the games, even if you win easily against your opponent, or what looks like easily, you should still analyze that game and maybe show it to your coach, because you would be surprised. There might be some hidden things you can learn from the game, which maybe this game you'll win anyway against such an opponent, weaker opponent. But maybe you will learn something very valuable that you'll learn a lot that will help you in some much bigger game later on in your chess career. So hopefully seeing these games today will encourage all of you to analyze all of your games very carefully. Blitz, rapid, lower rated, higher rated, doesn't matter. Every game is a gift. The game of chess gives us a gift that we can play a certain game. And we should take every game seriously and try to treasure the moments we get the chance to play chess and try to learn from those games. Hope you all enjoyed today's class. See you next month.